Great Northwoods to the Rockbound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, blizzard warnings and winter storm watches have been issued for today. We'll have some advice from MEMA coming up.
Plus, Maine's red flag law has officially gone into effect. We'll dive into the changes it brings and how it will operate in the state of Maine.
And the Hollywood Casino is donating extra proceeds from their parking garage to the Sarah's House. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Janessa Bishop.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Monday morning. We'll have those stories and more coming up. Of course, the big story today, though, is the storm that's brewing, heading this way. I saw a post from one of my friends down in Rhode Island. They had already received more than a foot of snow there. They're going to get like maybe a couple of feet of snow down there. Not so much around here. We could get several inches here in the Bangor area, and then some places on the coast approaching maybe a foot. One way or another, it's going to be blowing.
It is.
So there's a chance of power outages as well.
There will be. We'll turn things over to meteorologist Jeff Weller.
All right, thank you. Let's start here. The advisories are posted for today's coastal low. In here is a blizzard warning, a winter storm warning, and a winter weather advisory in blue. By far the worst conditions today right along the coastal areas. Wind gusts near 50 miles per hour and blowing snow and snow throughout the day today into tonight. Out there now, the wind basically out of the northwest around 10 miles per hour or so. It's going to pick up throughout the day today out of the northeast all day long, and it could gust near 40 to 50 miles per hour by tonight. So overall, an incredibly windy day across the region with snow and blowing snow, reducing visibility pretty much all day long today, into tonight, into tomorrow as well. In fact, the snow is going to end tonight, but blowing snow will likely be an issue into tomorrow and tomorrow morning as well, followed by decreasing winds tomorrow throughout the day, and then less windy for us on Wednesday and Thursday for sure. So here it is, Bombo Genesis here, a big coastal low, working its way toward our region for this evening and throughout the day today. This is tracking a bit more toward the east, so that will bring the worst impacts right along coastal areas and out to sea tonight too. But overall, all of us, some snow back in the forecast for today into tonight, and wind in here as well. So increasing clouds out there now. The snow is not that far away, and once the snow starts, likely snowing for several hours into tonight. In fact, the heaviest snow, of course, darker blue colors right along coastal areas with Chias, Rockland area into tomorrow morning. Then it gets out of here tomorrow morning, followed by decreasing clouds throughout the day, and a pretty nice day for us on Wednesday. But here's snowfall amounts going forward. We're probably talking 5, 6, 7, 8 inches right along the coastal areas, much less as you go back toward the west. Our forecast then for today, though, is snow and wind out there with high temperatures near 24. Your full forecast is coming up.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll see you a little later on. A winter storm that's bringing heavy snow from parts of Maryland all the way to Maine, leading several governors to declare states of emergency. With up to 70 million people feeling the effects of the storm, ABC's Lionel Moyes is in New York, where whiteout conditions have led to a travel ban.
Overnight, a powerful nor'easter slamming the east coast from Virginia to New England, unleashing dangerous winds, coastal flooding, and dumping up to 2 feet of snow.
Horizontal, vertical, even diagonally. That's how the snow is falling right now. It really is something to see.
7 states declaring a state of emergency.
Hopefully everybody stays home and doesn't come out in this.
More than 40 million people under a blizzard warning, including New Jersey, which hasn't seen a statewide warning of this magnitude in 30 years. Tens of thousands of customers in the state were without power overnight. Parts of Massachusetts could see wind gusts topping 70 miles per hour, creating whiteout conditions, making travel extremely dangerous.
The fewer vehicles on the streets, the faster our teams can clear roads and respond to emergencies.
New York City issuing a travel ban until noon today for all vehicles, shutting down streets, highways, and bridges. New Jersey Transit and the Long Island Railroad suspending service, and in Philadelphia, buses are no longer running. The storm also paralyzing major airports with more than 7,000 delays and nearly 3,500 cancellations Sunday, leaving some passengers stranded.
People that got canceled aren't going to get a flight to Thursday if they're lucky.
Schools canceled today throughout the Northeast, with many districts switching to remote learning. But in New York City, Mayor Zohran Mamdani opting for a traditional snow day, calling one student to share the good news.
I thought as the mayor I wanted to call you and give you some news. We've got a full snow day tomorrow. No online school, no remote learning, full classic snow day.
Again, here in New York, we are in a travel ban until at least noon, and there was a snowplow that overturned, leading to a hazmat situation. Officials are urging everyone to please stay off the road so the plows can do their work. Lionel Moyes, ABC News, New York.
Well, those heavy snowfall and strong winds are expected throughout Maine today. The National Weather Service has issued a blizzard warning for the entire Maine coastline. Winter storm warnings have also been issued for the Downeast and Bangor regions, and winter storm watches have been issued for southern Aroostook, central Penobscot, and southern Piscataquis counties. With winds possibly exceeding 50 miles per hour, Central Maine Power Company also telling people to stay away from downed power lines. They also said they're staffing extra crews at service centers today. The Maine Emergency Management Agency also issuing advice. Preparing for a power outage should include taking inventory on items and planning alternative power sources in case the lights go out. If a power outage does occur, MEMA's advice includes using generators only outside, not using a gas stove or oven to heat a home, disconnect appliances, and finding alternative plans to refrigerate medicine. Following a power outage, they advise throwing away food that's been exposed to temperatures of 40 degrees or higher for more than 2 hours, and if necessary, discard medication that should have been refrigerated. Information and resources provided by MEMA can be found on our website, foxbangor.com. Ahead of the storm, Governor Janet Mills also directed all state of Maine offices to be closed today. Governor Mills is urging Mainers to take the storm seriously, limit travel if possible, and give all the snow fighters and first responders the room they need to keep the roads clear and communities safe.
In other news, a person in the parking lot of a convenience store in Waterville was killed on Sunday morning when a car left the road and struck a vehicle parked at a gas pump. It all happened before 11:30 on Sunday morning at the Big Apple convenience store on Upper Main Street in Waterville. According to the Waterville Police Department's initial investigation, a vehicle traveling east on Main Street left the roadway and struck a vehicle parked at a gas pump. A pedestrian in the parking lot was then struck. The unidentified victim was pronounced dead at the scene. Waterville police say this is still an active investigation.
A basement fire in Augusta on Thursday has now claimed a man's life. According to the fire marshal's office, crews responded to the home on Riverside Drive around 2 p.m. Thursday for a report of a house fire. They located a fire in the basement of that single-family home and also found a male occupant outside the house who had suffered severe burns. He was transported to an Augusta hospital and then later airlifted to Maine Medical Center in Portland with life-threatening injuries. The fire marshal's spokesperson, Shannon Moss, confirmed that the man died at the hospital as a result of those injuries, and he has been identified as 66-year-old Michael Keith. Investigators have determined that the fire was an accident, and they blame the ignition on flammable liquids near a chimney door. The investigation is ongoing.
The FAA is investigating a plane crash in Otis Field. A pilot escaped injury Friday when a small plane flipped over during an emergency landing. Authorities say the pilot was attempting to land on Thompson Lake because of mechanical issues and flipped when the wheels touched down on the snow. The pilot was the only person on board at the time and managed to walk away. There's no word on when the plane will be removed from the ice.
A Rockland man has been arrested after police say he drove a plow truck toward a large group of people gathered at Chapman Park. 65-year-old Michael Robinson has been charged with felony reckless conduct with a dangerous weapon and driving to endanger. According to Rockland police, on Saturday, Robinson drove his plow truck with the plow down in close proximity to around 75 people who were gathered at the park. Police say that caused snow and ice to strike multiple people and even knock some of them to the ground. According to Rockland PD, weekly gatherings in the area have occurred for over a year now with very few incidents. But there has been a recent increase in criminal activity targeting those who are exercising their free speech.
I just am concerned that it's gotten to this place in our community and in our country where our neighbors are being moved to act in violent or escalatory ways against people who are just out here to exercise our First Amendment rights.
Robinson was taken into custody on Saturday and booked into the Knox County Jail. Police say additional charges are expected.
Meanwhile, former Maine CDC director and Democratic candidate for governor Dr. Nirav Shah was in Orono speaking to and taking questions from a crowd of voters. The event marked Shah's 11th public town hall since launching his campaign last October. He outlined his top priorities, which include addressing food insecurity among children, funding health care, fixing the housing crisis, growing Maine's economy, and fighting against the Trump administration.
Those are the issues that I hear Mainers bringing up. Some of them are about pocketbook issues. Some of them are about the core features of our democracy, which many Mainers feel is slipping away from us. As governor, we've got to be both for something as well as know what we're going to stand up against. And my plans and my priorities give voters a sense of both.
Shah recently unveiled a comprehensive plan that aims to safeguard Maine from what he believes are harmful Trump administration policies, ranging from elections to ICE enforcement. He faces a crowded field of high-profile candidates vying for the Democratic nomination this coming June.
On Saturday, Maine became the 22nd state to enact a red flag law. Efforts to implement a red flag law gained momentum after the Lewiston mass shooting. And now as the new law takes effect, many Mainers are asking what it changes and how it will work. Alex Schley has more.
Beginning Saturday, Maine's new red flag law will take effect, allowing both family members and law enforcement to petition a court to temporarily remove firearms from someone deemed a danger to themselves or others.
The constitutionality of red flag laws have been upheld across the nation, in courts across the nation, including in the Supreme Court.
The red flag law will act in conjunction with Maine's existing yellow flag law, which until now only permitted law enforcement to start the process of temporarily removing firearms. Supporters say the change gives families a more direct path to act when they see warning signs.
In Maine, where 90% of Maine's gun deaths in a typical year are suicide, there are often warning signs, and families are often the first people to know.
We reached out to local law enforcement asking whether Mainers should still feel comfortable contacting police when a loved one is in crisis. Multiple departments either did not respond or declined to comment. Bangor, Brewer, Vesey, Hamden, Herman, Holden, and the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office. Maine State Police did issue a statement saying they have hosted 6 training sessions on the red flag law, which 1,200 members of the Maine law enforcement community attended. The statement added in part, quote, "The training is meant to provide an overview of the law, so law enforcement understands how the law works with an emphasis on understanding the core processes, safe and effective services, firearm relinquishment, as well as how the new law might coexist with the current yellow flag law." For those looking to file a petition under the new law, no one at the Penobscot County Court was available Friday to discuss how the rollout will work or what steps citizens should expect. However, in an email to ABC7 and Fox 22, an official from the Maine Judicial Branch said in part, "The court is ready to implement the law. We have forms and a public-facing webpage with an explanation on the procedure ready to go live as soon as the law goes into effect. Forms will also be available at the courthouse." Alex Schley reporting for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 8:13. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, volunteers for a homeless shelter in Skowhegan are hoping to keep the doors open amidst code violations.
We'll have that story coming up, but first another check of the forecast. Today will be a snowy and windy day today, a real winter storm on the way, highs around 24 degrees. Snow ending tonight with lows dropping down to around 20. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with highs near 29. We'll be right back.
Accidents can happen in an instant. From icy sidewalks to winter roads, there are close calls around every corner. The law offices of Joe Bornstein have helped injured Mainers. When it's more than a close call, call Joe.
I worry. Will the next generation of Americans grow up with the friends and mentors and teachers and coaches who shaped us? Will they value their creativity now that anything can be imagined by an app? Will they learn to think for themselves and find work to support their family? I worry that AI is being designed to replace us and used in ways it never should be. That's why we should have a say in the future of AI.
Hank's Husqvarna is your trusted full-line Husqvarna dealer, offering you everything you need for your outdoor projects. From high-performance lawn tractors and zero-turn mowers to chainsaws, trimmers, battery-powered and powerful snowblowers, we have just what you need. Every piece of equipment is fully set up, serviced, and ready for use by our certified Husqvarna technician. And all sales are backed by our in-house Husqvarna warranty. For parts, service, or new equipment sales, make your way to Hank's Husqvarna in Carmel or Newport.
Getting help after an accident is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call Joe, text Joe, or email Joe Bornstein anytime for a free case evaluation. Accidents happen to be our specialty.
Think you're good at trivia? Arrange these holidays, these historic firsts, these animals. By the way,
I have no idea.
Congratulations! You have built the perfect line! I'm Deborah Norville, and this is the perfect line.
Onion rings before, in between onion rings and pizza.
Definitely after. Oh, this is what happy looks like.
Weekdays at 10 on Fox 22.
Roughly a year after a high-profile brush-up with President Trump, Governor Janet Mills changed her mind after saying that she would not attend his annual governor's meeting. Governor Mills was reportedly spotted in attendance at the governor's breakfast. The Trump administration initially shared plans to only invite Republican governors, but then walked that back. Mills posted the following statement on Friday afternoon, saying in part, quote, "Last year, my gut told me to stand up to the president. This year, right before the meeting started, it told me that I needed to show up. So I decided to attend because I have vowed to stand up for and defend Maine people no matter what, and I keep my promises."
A homeless shelter in Skowhegan has faced multiple notifications about code violations from the town. The volunteers running the shelter say they're doing the best they can and are now hoping for some extra time to shore up a new space. Our Callie Warren with the story.
Everything they brought up, we've really busted it to abide by because we just want to take care of these people.
At 12 McClellan Street in Skowhegan sits a large lot with an old church building. On the outside, it's a simple multi-story structure. Dozens of unhoused families call the inside home.
They said, you're a homeless shelter. I said, no, I'm a church with beds in it. And that's exactly what we are. Churches are supposed to take care of people. God told us to take care of the poor. And that's what we're trying to do. I didn't know about the codes and all of that.
In January, the volunteers at the shelter received a list of 27 code violations, with inspectors deeming multiple parts of the building a fire hazard.
In 3 weeks, we've been able to knock out 21 of them.
Citing everything from piles of cardboard to a lack of hardwired smoke detectors, volunteers report taking care of most of these issues.
If you're not able to reach this, that's a violation by code. Now this is accessible to their standards. All the wiring was redone and made perfect for this room.
For an entirely volunteer-based nonprofit, staffed mostly by the residents that stay at the shelter,
we aren't paying people around the clock. They're working for room and board and happy to get it.
Paying hundreds of thousands to retrofit the building isn't a fiscally feasible option. The solution?
A permanent coded facility as opposed to trying to retrofit something that may not even work down the road.
With community donations of money, skills, and time, alongside lots of hard work and hope, the shelter plans to expand into a code-compliant steel structure.
And 90% of it is bedrooms. So there's 22 12 by 17 bedrooms in the very center, and there's a 6-foot hallway down the middle, east wing and west wing. And right in the middle is a 17-foot section for a little dining area, some washrooms for bathing and showering. And then they'll be able to do all the stuff here at the building, you know, like eating and services and working.
They say they're one of few homeless shelters in the country that accepts entire families, and the new concept would help them help others. Alan started a GoFundMe page to help raise the funds necessary for this new structure. In the meantime, they hope the town permits the main building to stay open until the project is complete in the summer.
Our goal is to give them warmth, give them some food, some shelter, some hot water, and get back on their feet.
In Skowhegan, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
The time now is 8:19. After the break, Mexico is feeling the impact after military forces launched an operation to catch the country's most powerful drug lord.
We'll have the latest coming up, plus many people gathered on Sebec Lake for the Dover Foxcroft Firefighters Ice Fishing Tournament over the weekend. Boy, did a lot of people show up, too. We'll have the story for you coming up on Good Morning Maine.
A sharp pain in his chest. He knew it was his heart, but 2 hours from the big city hospital could tragically mean the end. But it wasn't. Thanks to Senator Susan Collins' tireless fight for Maine's rural hospitals. Because of Senator Collins' work, his local hospital had recently received up-to-date diagnostic equipment and upgraded facilities, all paid for with new federal funding. Lives are being saved. Call and thank our Senator Susan Collins for delivering this lifeline for Maine.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
What matters more? A bank with innovative products or one that cares for the community? At Bangor Savings Bank, we think it's both because our innovation helps customers build stronger credit, earn rewards when shopping local, give teens independence and financial experience, and simplify business with local solutions. So what matters more? You.
Hundreds of anglers came out to Sebec Lake over the weekend for the Dover Foxcroft Firefighters Association annual ice fishing derby. According to organizers, the 15th annual derby drew in upwards of 600 to 700 people who took part in the two-day competition. In addition to the fishing derby, they also had shore prize drawings. According to the derby chairman, proceeds from the event enabled the Dover Foxcroft Fire Department to secure vital equipment, gear, and other equipment to taxpayers at no cost.
This morning we caught 2 fishes in just under an hour.
You know, it's a good time to spend with friends from the area, do something we all love doing, you know, and hopefully a chance to maybe win a little bit of money and support the community.
You go out on the lake and some of the fish houses have 30 people gathered around them, and it's really good for the Sebec Lake. It's the biggest winter event for this area.
The Derby is one of 4 major fundraising events that they hold each year. For results from the weekend's Derby, you can visit the Dover Foxcroft Fire Department's Facebook page.
What a great way to raise money.
Yeah, it looks really fun.
Yeah, they had great weather. And speaking of the weather, I was just checking out the Bangor Airport website. All kinds of canceled flights on there. I was wondering because of the storm, how it's impacting other places. There are several flights that are on time, but you may want to call ahead if you're planning to fly out today.
Definitely a good idea. Now let's get a full look at our forecast with meteorologist Jeff Weller.
All right, let's jump right in here. The advisories are posted. In here is a blizzard warning, a winter storm warning in pink, and a winter weather advisory in blue. Overall, a mess on the way for us for today into tonight with snow and blowing snow out there, and that snow could be locally heavy for several hours throughout the day today. The wind out there now basically out of the northeast or so, around 10 miles per hour. It is going to pick up throughout the day today into tonight. In fact, we should see wind gusts near 40 to 50 miles per hour throughout the day today into tonight, and likely not coming down till around midday-ish tomorrow. So the snow is going to end tonight, but the wind's going to keep going likely into tomorrow afternoon. So again, blowing snow, drifting snow, likely an issue through tonight, through tomorrow, into probably Wednesday morning. So here it is, the big coastal low. We have bombogenesis happening here. This thing is incredibly powerful, incredibly strong. It's taking more of an easterly track, though, so that'll take the worst impacts directly along the coast and out to sea. But still, we have quite an event to go through today into tonight as we have clouding over now. And once the snow begins here shortly, we're going to have snow throughout the day today into this evening, locally heavy snow at times. So overall, here's the forecast for snow. Again, the darker color blue is where the heaviest snow is going to fall. We're talking Bangor toward the east, toward Machias. Behind that, though, lighter colors here, much less snow for Millinocket area. It's going to be probably a 2, 3, 4, 5-inch snow there. Meanwhile, coastal areas could see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches here. So wide variation across the region. The snow gets out of here tonight. Here's tomorrow morning or so. We're talking still wind in the area, still clouds in the area with blowing snow and drifting snow throughout the day as well. So the snowfall looks like this. Again, the worst impacts throughout the day today, right along coastal areas, Eastport, Machias, Bar Harbor, Ellsworth, all over probably 6+ inches of snow. The rest of us, though, back toward the west, lesser amounts here, but still incredibly windy, reducing visibility pretty much throughout the day today into tonight. Out there now looking pretty good, but overall, this will go downhill very quickly. We're watching for blizzard-like conditions today, which is reduced visibility to a half mile or less, or a quarter mile or less, basically for 3 hours or more. All right, so temperatures are critical, of course, out there today. High temperatures today, basically mid-20s, starting off in the upper teens in Millinocket, mid-20s here in Bangor, but overall not going to move much today. But plus the wind giving us feel-like temperatures near 11 here in Bangor, 10 Millinocket. These are not going to move much throughout the day today. And if you want warmer temperatures, here's the outlook for early parts of March, warming up across the west, but for us, likely below average temperatures for the first week of March. So our forecast then for today, though, is snow and wind, heavy at times. Look for high temperatures near 24. For tonight, here we go. Snow ending, still windy. Look for low temperatures down near 20, winds gusting near 40. Then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows light snow ending tomorrow morning. Some more light snow back in the forecast Wednesday, 31. Warmer Thursday, 35. And then look back up near 40 on Friday and Saturday.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
When you're ready to remodel your kitchen, find all the materials and services you need at Hammond Lumber Company. Get inspired by the extensive in-store displays in Hammond's Kitchen, Bath, and Flooring Division. Hammond's designers will help you visualize your space before the work begins. And all design fees are refunded when you purchase your materials from them. And Hammond delivers from 34 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. When it's time for a new kitchen, it's time to bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
A little winter weather never stopped Old George or Toyota from offering incredible savings to celebrate his birthday on vehicles from the longest-lasting brand at the Toyota Washington's Birthday Savings Event. You could get an all-wheel drive 2025 RAV4 gas or plug-in hybrid model with 4.75 for 72 clearance financing. Plus, get 2 years no-cost maintenance. Come get your savings in honor of Old George at your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
When Maine winter bites, nothing matters more than keeping your family warm. The solution is simple, a high-efficiency heat pump installed by Valley Home Services. It's the quiet, reliable warmth you need all season long. At Valley Home, we're your elite Fujitsu dealer, ensuring expert installation that delivers consistent comfort and maximizes your energy savings. And we make it easy to switch to efficiency heating and qualify for those valuable Efficiency Maine rebates. Stay perfectly warm without the high cost. For a warm, worry-free winter, trust the local experts. Valley Home Services. Winter warmth is waiting. Call us today.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Now to the deadly takedown of one of the world's most wanted men. Mexico's military, with help from the U.S., killing the drug lord known as El Mencho, setting off mayhem in the streets. The aftermath also creating some dangers for American tourists in Mexico. Here's ABC's Allison Cossack.
This morning, parts of Mexico are reeling after military forces launched a daring operation to capture the country's most powerful drug lord, known as El Mencho, and ended up killing him. Cartel members unleashed violence in response in at least 20 Mexican states. ABC's Matt Rivers has covered the country for years.
What we've seen across the country in Mexico since this happened is an explosion of violence. Members of this cartel coming out, throwing up roadblocks, engaging in firefights with security forces as a way to send a message to the authorities, hey, you might have gotten our leader, but we're not going to go down quietly.
The 59-year-old El Mencho was also wanted by the U.S., a Pentagon official telling ABC News that NORTHCOM, a newly established U.S. task force, provided information for the raid. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt on X saying El Mencho was a top target for the Mexican and United States government as one of the top traffickers of fentanyl into our homeland. After the takedown, explosions erupted across Puerto Vallarta, a popular destination for Americans. Even a Costco store on fire.
It didn't burn down, but there's definitely buildings where vehicles around it on fire.
The violence forcing the Puerto Vallarta airport to suspend all flights, stranding many U.S. citizens trying to get home.
We have not been able to find the flight back, even if we hear that the airport is secure and there's military people around the airport keeping it safe. Getting there and the hour drive to the airport is the concerning part. We don't know what we may find along the way.
At the time of the raid, U.S. citizens in Puerto Vallarta were told to shelter in place until further notice. Mexico authorities say order is gradually being restored. Allison Cossack, ABC News, New York.
Now to the latest on the fatal shooting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida. Authorities say the suspect was carrying a shotgun and a gas can when he drove into the secure perimeter on Sunday morning. Investigators piecing together the events leading up to the intruder breaching the secure perimeter of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida. The FBI identifying the suspect as 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin of North Carolina. He was shot shortly after 1 a.m. yesterday after bringing a canister of gasoline and brandished a shotgun in front of security personnel. Martin had been reported missing by his family on Saturday. He died at the scene. Now FBI and Secret Service trying to figure out what Martin was planning and why. President Trump has been the target of 2 assassination attempts since running for office in 2024, with his Secret Service protection coming under intense scrutiny after a would-be assassin's bullet clipped his ear at a Pennsylvania rally.
And President Trump was not at Mar-a-Lago yesterday
Yes.
when that all took place.
Yeah.
Quick update from Bangor, storm-related stuff. Bangor City Hall now saying they will close at noon today, and they're canceling tonight's City Council meeting.
Gotcha.
They're going to reschedule it for Wednesday night instead.
Well, there we go. Coming up on the second half of the newscast, the Boston Aquarium has discovered a playful way to keep one of its older animals active.
We'll tell you all about it coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, and this is also National Tootsie Roll Day.
This day is dedicated to the chocolate-flavored candy that has been a favorite for generations. It was created by Leo Hirschfeld, a Jewish immigrant from Austria, who opened a candy shop in Brooklyn back in 1896. The candy became immensely popular, and he named it after his daughter Clara, whose nickname was Tootsie. The company that bought the business now makes 64 million Tootsie Rolls a day.
That's a lot of Tootsie Rolls.
It is.
Now we know how it all started.
Yes, I like the ones that are like the fruit-flavored Tootsie Rolls.
Right.
Honestly, a little better than the original ones, but they're all good.
I never see those though, you know?
Really?
Yeah. Maybe they make special packages or something.
Special bags or something.
Honestly, I haven't had a Tootsie Roll in years, but they're great.
They are.
Love them. All right, time for history. It was on this date back in 1836. The Siege of the Alamo by Mexican troops began in San Antonio, Texas. In 1903, on this date, President Theodore Roosevelt signed an agreement with Cuba to lease the area around Guantanamo Bay. The U.S. has complete jurisdiction over a 45 square mile piece of land there that is currently home to a U.S. Naval Air Station. In 1940, the Disney animated movie Pinocchio was released in theaters, and in 1945 on this date, during World War II, U.S. Marines raised 2 American flags over Mount Suribachi on Iwo Jima. They decided the first flag was too small, so they found one that was larger. And the second flag was raised and was captured in an iconic photograph by Joe Rosenthal from the Associated Press.
And in 1954, a group of children in Pennsylvania became the first to receive the first polio vaccine. In 1978, there was a rare tie for Song of the Year during the 20th Grammy Awards. The title went to Barbra Streisand's Love Theme from A Star Is Born and Debbie Boone's song You Light Up My Life. And in 1991, President George H.W. Bush gave Iraq the ultimatum that they had 24 hours to remove their forces from Kuwait or face war. And lastly, in 2005, the New York Medical Examiner's Office announced it had exhausted efforts to identify remains of people killed during the World Trade Center collapse. About 1,600 people had been identified, leaving more than 1,100 unidentified.
All right, for birthdays today, they include 3 very talented actresses. We have Dakota Fanning, who is 32 today. We've watched her since she was a little girl.
Yeah, she's great.
All grown up now. Actress Emily Blunt is 43, and actress Kristen Davis from Sex and the City is 61 years old today. Happy birthday to you also, if your birthday is today.
We'll turn things right back over to meteorologist Jeff Weller.
All right, thank you. Let's start here. The advisories are posted for today's coastal low. In here is a blizzard warning, a winter storm warning, and a winter weather advisory in blue. By far the worst conditions today right along the coastal areas. Wind gusts near 50 miles per hour and blowing snow throughout the day today into tonight. Out there now, the wind basically out of the northwest around 10 miles per hour or so. It's going to pick up throughout the day today out of the northeast all day long, and it could gust near 40 to 50 miles per hour by tonight. So overall, an incredibly windy day across the region with snow and blowing snow, reducing visibility pretty much all day long today, into tonight, into tomorrow as well. In fact, the snow is going to end tonight, but blowing snow will likely be an issue into tomorrow and tomorrow morning as well, followed by decreasing winds tomorrow throughout the day, and then less windy for us on Wednesday and Thursday for sure. So here it is, Bombo Genesis here, a big coastal low, working its way toward our region for this evening and throughout the day today. This is tracking a bit more toward the east, so that will bring the worst impacts right along coastal areas and out to sea tonight too. But overall, all of us, some snow back in the forecast for today into tonight, and wind in here as well. So increasing clouds out there now that snow is not that far away. And once the snow starts, likely snowing for several hours into tonight. In fact, the heaviest snow, of course, darker blue colors right along coastal areas, Machias, Rockland area into tomorrow morning. Then it gets out of here tomorrow morning, followed by decreasing clouds throughout the day, and a pretty nice day for us on Wednesday. But here's snowfall amounts going forward. We're probably talking 5, 6, 7, 8 inches right along the coastal areas, much less as you go back toward the west. Our forecast then for today, though, is snow and wind out there with high temperatures near 24. Your full forecast is coming up.
I just was checking. I have a friend down in Rhode Island. They've received 23 inches of snow so far by 8:30 this morning, and they're expecting it to continue to snow throughout the day today.
That's
so
wild.
If you're feeling bad about the snow here,
yeah, it's not as bad.
It could be worse. Yeah.
Well, still to come here this morning, Jack Webb with sports.
Don't go away.
I had a slip and fall accident. I wasn't sure what to do. Joe Bornstein's office handled everything. The experience was much better than what I expected. They were very professional and responsive to all my questions and concerns. I highly recommend the law offices of Joe Bornstein. Over 25,000 victories for injured Mainers just like me. If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe. It's that easy. Tell him you mean business.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
ABC 7, Fox 22. The place we call home, telling Maine stories wherever you roam. From sunrise shores to forests of pine, hard work, strong hearts, values that shine. From old towns to harbors, back roads to ocean blue. Neighbors helping neighbors in all that we do. Through storms and clear skies, day after day, we're here with the stories that matter in Maine. From mountains to sea, standing strong and true. This is Maine, this is home on ABC 7, Fox 22.
You know Matt pretty well. Did he give you any advice?
He said that I should use 26 words or more.
Weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Welcome back in, folks. Saturday was regional final Saturday for the state basketball tournament here in Maine, and we might as well get right to it. First game of that regional Saturday in Bangor's #1 Wisdom taking on #2 Katahdin in the S-North final. Wisdom leading in the third, but Katahdin getting right back in it as Ayanna Lester gets the bucket and the foul to tie it at 16. But Wisdom would answer. Ava Lerman takes the handoff, drives, and finishes at the rim to make it 20-16 Wisdom. In the fourth now, Wisdom on the attack. Maddie Sear drives, then pulls up and knocks down the jumper to make it 30-19 as they start to pull away. Katahdin trying to stay in it off the inbounds pass. Lester puts it up and in, but it'd be too little too late as Lerman lays it up with time expiring, and Wisdom advances to the Class S state title game, their first state title game since 1998.
I mean, it's something words can't describe. It's a feeling I haven't been able to feel before. We've had too many heartbreaks on this floor. So my senior year coming into it, we said we got to win. We got to have a net around our neck at the end of this. And I mean, sure enough, this morning it came to us. We've been working hard for it. So.
For Class S boys, it's #1 Jonesport Beals and the Royals taking on #2 Easton High School Bears for a shot at the state title appearance. Starting in the first, Royals strike early when Anderson Alley finds his brother Owen underneath the net. He puts it up, draws contact, and he's got it and one. Not long after, Coben Robinson three-pointer, bang, he drains it. Royals start building a big lead on the other end. Jamie McKay recovers a Bears miss, fights through the traffic, and floats one up and in. A much-needed spark at the end of the half. Second half now, Bears claw all the way back, and they take the lead with this pass and score from Mason Pelletier to Ashton Bergby. The momentum has shifted. Same connection as the last play. Pelletier looking like Brady. Tip pass falls to Bugby, and he lays it in for two late in the fourth quarter, and the Bears hold a big lead now. Josiah Ellis puts the game on ice. Bears head to the state title game with a 58-42 win.
We were very quiet in the locker room, and we came up with a couple new plays that we knew would work, and we came out, and it was mostly poise and grit that won that game in the second half.
Now for Class D action, starting with the girls, it's #4 PVHS looking for another upset as they took on #2 Machias. We pick it up just after the tip, and Brooklyn Raymond picks up right where she left off, splashing the three to open the scoring. Howlers again on the attack. Moulton feeds Lila Cummings, who goes to work in the post, makes it 9-0 PVHS. In the second now, Raymond feeds the 8th grader, McKenna Ireland, who lays it in to make it 23-8 Howlers. Machias looking to respond. Aubrey Wood is going to feed Olivia Reynolds in the post. She lays it in as the Bulldogs are looking for a spark. Time winding down in the first half. Moulton gets the board, kicks it out to Raymond, who is going to bury the triple at the buzzer. 28-13, Howlers lead at the break in the third. Machias finally settling in. Aubrey Wood feeds Loretta Richardson, who gets the bucket and the foul as the Bulldogs bring it within 9, but the Howlers would be too much. Raymond feeds Cummings. Penobscot Valley punches their ticket to their second straight title game, this time in Class D.
I think it just shows our grit going from that high last year and kind of having a little bit of a tough time this year. It shows our grit and our willing to work.
Now for the boys, number 1 Machias, number 2 Madawaska, who will advance to the Class D state title game. This game decides it. We pick it up early in the first quarter. The number 1 team gets it going when Liam O'Connor holds, then dishes to Mickey Fitzsimmons with the space. He fires and splashes a three-pointer. Then O'Connor gets his chance. He heads to the corner. No one follows, so of course he takes the shot and 2 knocks it down for 3. The Owls finish strong, though, in the second when Braden Pelletier finds Jeremiah Turner for a nice layup, evening the score. But the Bulldogs close the first half with this scoop and score off the loose ball. It's picked up by T.J. Holmes. He puts it up and in at the buzzer. That would spark a great second half for that team. Third quarter, Caden Carter gets the feed and puts up two quick two-pointer. And then in the fourth, Wesley Bragg finishes it off with this put-back shot. The Bulldogs win 61-57.
Yeah, we struggled a little bit in the first half, but we got going in the second half. Just really tried to shut down Quinn and all those guys, so I thought we did pretty well.
Class C was the nightcap at the Cross and started with the girls. Number 3 Foxcroft Academy looking to knock off undefeated Mattanock Academy. Defensive first quarter, we pick it up in the second. Senior Megan House open in the corner. She buries the triple to give the Lynx an 11-4 lead. Now it's House again. She's off the mark, but her friend and co-star Addison Sear has her back. She grabs the offensive board, lays it in for 2. Ponies trying to create some offense, and watch this play from Maddie Muth. The Euro step through the trees and lays it in with the left. Problem would be that's the Ponies' only points in the quarter. Still in the second, it's Sear again, corrals the loose ball and gets the bucket and the foul, puts MA up 20-6. Second half, Ponies trying to make a push. Allie Cook drains the 3, but Sear, House, and the Lynx would be too much. Here's House with a backdoor cut, a tough finish through traffic as Mattanock Academy wins their first ever girls basketball regional title.
It's so special. I mean, this is something we've worked for all 4 years that I've been here, and it's so exciting to finally be able to do it, you know, on this last go around on my senior year. So it's so special to be able to do it with this group of girls that I'm so close with. And so it's really, really special.
Our last game of the night, it's number 1 Caribou and number 3 Fort Kent going to war in the regional final game with a ticket to the Class C state title game on the line. Let's kick things off with the Vikings and Owen Corrigan, who decides to take the ball himself before stopping and pulling up with a quick jumper for 2 points. Then Jaden Jeffers finds his brother Aiden down low. Remember the name. He works around the defender and lays it in. He's back at it again. This time he feeds Dom Sear on the no-look to get him involved in the scoring. But Corrigan and the Vikings keep pace. He launches and drains a big three-pointer. Next possession, Jeffers is driving, but it's poked away. Going the other way, Colby Olette, no-look dish to Corrigan, and Corrigan with a beautiful move for 2 more. He then recovers the missed three-pointer and puts it back in. Corrigan having a night. These two teams went back and forth until the final seconds of this game, where it all came down to this. Aiden Jeffers driving for the win. He throws it up, and he's got it. A buzzer beater to send your team to the Class C state championship. Look at the crowd pan here. The Fort Kent faithful are fired up. That is what it's all about. That is exactly what dreams are made of. Aiden Jeffers, take a bow, young man. Just an incredible play to send his team to the state title game. That is, I mean, you dream about that in the yard as a kid, in the front driveway, you know, in the park, wherever you may be. You're counting down in your head. Aiden Jeffers just made a bunch of kids' dreams come true. He lived it out. What a regional Saturday. We'll have your coverage all week long heading up to the state championship games on Friday and Saturday, covering all our local teams in those big games. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
See the USA. Chevrolet, America's asking you to call. Drive your Chevrolet through the
Well-qualified buyers can get 1.9% financing when you finance with GM Financial. Or qualified lessees can get this Silverado pickup for around $399 a month.
At the County Federal Credit Union, we value the trust our members place in us to act in their best interest. Whether it's providing low rates on consumer loans or raising money to end hunger, we work hard to serve our members and the communities in which they live. We are excited to bring the meaningful and impactful work we do to all Mainers as we continue to grow. Wherever you are in life's journey, count on the county to be your financial partner.
I got hurt by a texting driver and the insurance company is rushing me to settle.
I've got $10,000 in medical bills and they only offered me $5,000.
You deserve more. More answers to your questions, more attention to your case, and more money in your pocket.
I called the twos. He got me $165,000 for my car accident. Way more than the insurance company originally offered.
I'm your go-to guy.
If you're hurt in an accident, what do you do? Call 222-2222.
We're lucky to live in Maine. We have a wealth of natural resources, hardworking people, and time for the things that matter. Mechanical Services is all about Maine, with energy efficiency that protects our environment and helps businesses grow. Preventive maintenance and energy solutions that save money. How Maine is that? Mechanical Services. We're everywhere you are in Maine.
Welcome back, everyone. A Boston aquarium finds a playful way to keep one of its animals active. Reggae, a 33-year-old harbor seal at New England Aquarium, spends his days playing with rubber ducks. But Reggae's trainers say the toys are a part of a structured enrichment program designed to keep seals mentally and physically engaged. The ducks help the seal complete memory and problem-solving exercises, and aquarium officials say the playful sessions help build trust between the animals and their trainers.
So Reggae actually learned a behavior called Find It with these ducks, where we show him one duck and we ask him to match that item and find that same duck somewhere else in the habitat.
The aquarium says its harbor seals, many of which are born there, often live longer than their wild counterparts, thanks to veterinary care, training, and daily enrichment activities.
I guess they're just like people, you know, as you get older, you have to keep, you know, challenging your mind,
and
keep it sharp.
I'm sure that is, you know, part of the reason why he's so smart.
Yeah, cute little seal.
Yes.
Oh, meanwhile, nearly 150 years after the last giant tortoises were removed from Florina Island, never heard of it before.
Me either.
In Ecuador's Galapagos archipelago. Oh, all these words. The species has a homecoming. That's the good news. On Friday, dozens of juvenile hybrids were released on the island in an effort to begin restoring the island's depleted ecosystem. More than 150 newcomers, ages 8 to 13, have begun exploring their new habitat. Their release was timed to coincide with the arrival of the season's first winter rains. Plans call for a total of 700 tortoises to be set free on the island, which was home to about 20,000 tortoises 200 years ago. Scientists say relentless human exploitation eventually led to their extinction on the island, and now it's time to bring them back.
Aww.
We like that.
We do.
Even if I can't pronounce the name of it.
Now here's meteorologist Jeff Weller with our full weather forecast.
All right, let's jump right in here. The advisories are posted. In here is a blizzard warning, a winter storm warning in pink, and a winter weather advisory in blue. Overall, a mess on the way for us for today into tonight with snow and blowing snow out there, and that snow could be locally heavy for several hours throughout the day today. The wind out there now basically out of the northeast or so, around 10 miles per hour. It is going to pick up throughout the day today into tonight. In fact, we should see wind gusts near 40 to 50 miles per hour throughout the day today into tonight, and likely not coming down till around midday-ish tomorrow. So the snow is going to end tonight, but the wind's going to keep going likely into tomorrow afternoon. So again, blowing snow, drifting snow, likely an issue through tonight, through tomorrow, into probably Wednesday morning. So here it is, the big coastal low. We have bombogenesis happening here. This thing is is incredibly powerful, incredibly strong. It's taking more of an easterly track, though, so that'll take the worst impacts directly along the coast and out to sea. But still, we have quite an event to go through today into tonight as we have clouding over now. And once the snow begins here shortly, we're going to have snow throughout the day today into this evening, locally heavy snow at times. So overall, here's the forecast for snow. Again, the darker colored blue is where the heaviest snow is going to fall. We're talking Bangor toward the east, toward Machias. Behind that, though, lighter colors here, much less snow for Millinocket area. It's going to be probably a 2, 3, 4, 5-inch snow there. Meanwhile, coastal areas could see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches here. So wide variation across the region. The snow gets out of here tonight. Here's tomorrow morning or so. We're talking still wind in the area, still clouds in the area with blowing snow and drifting snow throughout the day as well. So the snowfall looks like this. Again, the worst impacts throughout the day today, right along coastal areas, Eastport, Machias, Bar Harbor, Ellsworth, all over probably 6+ inches of snow. The rest of us, though, back toward the west, lesser amounts here, but still incredibly windy, reducing visibility pretty much throughout the day today into tonight. Out there now looking pretty good, but overall, this will go downhill very quickly. We're watching for blizzard-like conditions today, which is reduced visibility to a half mile or less, or a quarter mile or less, basically for 3 hours or more. All right, so temperatures are critical, of course, out there today. High temperatures today, basically mid-20s, starting off in the upper teens in Millinocket, mid-20s here in Bangor, but overall not going to move much today. But plus the wind giving us feel-like temperatures near 11 here in Bangor, 10 Millinocket. These are not going to move much throughout the day today. And if you want warmer temperatures, here's the outlook for early parts of March, warming up across the west, but for us, likely below average temperatures for the first week of March. So our forecast then for today, though, is snow and wind, heavy at times. Look for high temperatures near 24. For tonight, here we go. Snow ending, still windy. Look for low temperatures down near 20, winds gusting near 40. Then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows light snow ending tomorrow morning. Some more light snow back in the forecast Wednesday, 31. Warmer Thursday, 35. And then look back up near 40 on Friday and Saturday.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
$1 million every year for the rest of my life, and maybe yours too.
When lives are on the line, they don't hesitate to run towards danger. Unfortunately, the same gear that protects them from deadly flames can be hazardous to their health. Senator Susan Collins to the rescue. Susan helped introduce legislation that protects firefighters and first responders from cancer-causing forever chemicals in their equipment. Because their job is dangerous enough. Call Senator Collins and thank her for protecting Maine's first responders.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Parking for Bangor's waterfront concerts can be difficult at times, but Hollywood Casino makes sure parking fees don't simply pad their pockets. The casino donated a $25,000 check to Sarah's House of Maine to support their endeavors, helping local families of cancer patients. Spokesperson Dan Cashman explains that on concert nights, the casino charges a fee for concert goers to use their parking garage And then those funds are then used for charitable donations. What a nice thing to do.
It is. Spectators got quite the sight on Skowhegan Snow as they welcomed the art of skijor to Somerset Snowfest. The sport involves a skier being pulled behind an equestrian, completing jumps and collecting rings along the way. It's the end cap for the annual Somerset Snowfest event, which offers multiple opportunities for outdoor fun in the winter weather. Somerset Snowfest has come to an end, but it will be back with more skijoring next February.
That seems to be picking up popularity, too.
It does. I've seen it on social media a lot, so
yeah.
Very cool.
Looks like fun to watch.
It does. Well, that's all the time that we have left for this morning, but as always, we thank you for joining us.
Be safe out there, everyone. We'll see you back here tomorrow. We hope you have a great day.
Today on 25 Words or Less, one of the few people working in the biz who drinks more boxed wine than Meredith is Kathleen Madigan. And joining Kathleen are high school friends Rebecca